What's up YouTube? This is going to be our guide on how to use Latias in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. And if you enjoy these, they help you out, drop a like and let's get into it. So today we're going to cover Latias and Latios, and we'll start with Latios in this video. So looking at Latias' stats and abilities. So only one ability, which is Levitate, which actually isn't a bad ability for it at all when you take into account some of the terrors that it can get and the stats that it has too. So looking at its stats here, we have got a nice speed stat, very, very good special defense of 130, and a good special attack stat too. So a bulky special defensive sweeper or support, these stats sort of show me here. So our first set is going to be like a sweeping set, and it does get the move Calm Mind. And it can have a variety of different terrors as well, depending on what sort of move set you're running, because it can do a couple of things. So our first set here is going to be a bulky set, a very, very bulky set based around Calm Mind and Big Root here. So this one's probably definitely suited more towards singles. So firstly we got Calm Mind, which is going to increase its special attack and special defense. And I've got its signature move here, Miss Ball. So Miss Ball is 95 power and 100% accurate, and it has a 50% chance to drop the special attack by one stage, which is very, very good. Now that works pretty nicely with a move like Draining Kiss. So Draining Kiss is a very, very nice coverage move on Latios, and it also gives it recovery too. So you've got 50 base power, and then you're going to actually recover 75% of that. And with the Big Root item, you're going to get an additional 1.3 times on top of that too. So you're getting a lot of health back. So you don't need to have a move, say, as Recover on your Latios, which, Latios can learn. The other move I've got in here is Aura Sphere, which is simply there for any Steel-type Pokemon. But mostly you're going to be using Draining Kiss. So the EV spread is a little bit wacky here, but we've got max speed, tip of nature, and max defense. So I tried to make this one defensive and speedy at the same time. It's a little bit different. It can run like stored power sets on this one too, but I wanted to run like a little bit something different. So we'll have a look at this. So we got Timid Nature for speed. So it still hits a good speed stat there, and it's bulky on the defensive side. So after some Calm Minds, its special attack and special defense are going to be nice and high, and then you'll just be doing damage with Draining Kiss, getting your health back, and then Miss Ball also dropping the special attack as well of the opponent. So if they try any special moves, you're going to drop that. You've got Draining Kiss, and then you've got the Aura Sphere for any Steel-type Pokemon. The terrors you can run on this are really good because you're going to have Terra Poison, which is great because it's a nice defensive Terra for any Fairy-type moves, Dark-type moves, anything like that. And also, if you go Terra Poison, you can't be hit by any Ground-type moves. Plus, you can't be poisoned either. A lot of the time, these bulky setup mons can be, beaten by Toxic. So with that, it's really good. And with Poison, you've only got one weakness then, because Ground doesn't affect you with the Levitate ability. So any Psychic types are going to be your problem there. But once you've boosted up enough Calm Minds, Draining Kiss, you should be able to beat them there. So this is my bulky sweeping set. It's a little bit different from the stored power set, which we'll have a look at in a second. So let's have a look at that one now, which is quite similar. So this one here is going to be making use of all the status moves it can learn to build up stored power. So we've got weakness policy on this set, obviously, because we're using stored power, Levitate and Steel type. So with the Terra type Steel, that means you also can't be poisoned, and Ground type moves won't affect you. So you really only have to worry about Fire type moves, and that's virtually it. So I like this sort of build here. You've only got one weakness, and with a Pokemon that's built quite bulky, it's very, very hard to faint too. This set is even harder to faint in, say, singles than the other one there. So this one, we've got max health and max defense, bold nature, so very, very defensively bulky. So unlike this one, it's not speedy and it doesn't have as much health, so that's where it differs there. which is suited for this sort of set too. So we've got Calm Mind here, which is the best move for stored power. Stored power is going to get 20 base power for every single boost. And then we got Draining Kiss as well. That's for just damage and for any dark type Pokemon that come in, but mostly you're going to be wanting to use stored power every single time. Even against steel type Pokemon, once you've got enough stored powers up, they're going to get dropped. That's Draining Kiss is purely there for any dark type Pokemon. Agility is the last move there too, which is only going to make you faster and build more, damage and stacks onto stored power there. So this is a bold nature, so we're very, very defensive, and we're hitting really, really hard with stored power. So there are a couple of other... You could alternatively run poison on this if you wanted to as well. That's definitely something you could consider doing. That's still a good... There's nothing wrong with that. You could do like other crazy ones like electric, so you've got no weaknesses at all, but then you're vulnerable then to any things that are like toxic, so you have to sort of watch out for that. If you're going to try that, you need to get rid of those kind of Pokemon first there. So I'd say Steel. Another good one is Fairy too. So that will give you a nice defensive nature, and it will power up Draining Kiss. And if a dark type Pokemon comes in there, you can set up on it. So that's another way of running that too. The other move you might want to put on there, if you don't want to put Drain Kiss, you could pop on Aura Sphere as well. If you're really worried about Steel type and Dark type, that will hit both of them. But bear in mind, if you lose Aura Sphere, you'll lose any... if you lose the Draining Kiss, you'll lose any recovery. Alternatively, you can go full stored power with Recover too. So you could do that too. I would be inclined to go for probably... I'd be inclined to probably go for Steel then as my Terra, so you couldn't get poisoned. But if you're going to do this, make sure you get rid of any of the Dark type Pokemon that the opponent has. Otherwise, they're going to be able to counter you, right? So there's two builds there. Definitely singles builds for sure. Let's have a look at some doubles or VGC style builds now. Okay, so our first build here, we've got some more involved EVs. So we got Max Health for starters. We got 56 in defense and 200 in special defense with Calm Nature. So we're making this one really tanky as well, and we're also giving it a bit of defense. So the reason I did these EVs here, to give it all-round bulk, and also Rocky Helmet as the item. So obviously Latios has a big special defensive stat, right? So people may be inclined to hit it with physical moves for sure, right? So at least the Rocky Helmet would punish them, and they might think twice about hitting on the defensive side. And if they do, at least you're going to get some damage on them too as well. But if they don't, they're going to hit you on the special defensive side, and you're going to be more bulky there. So that's why I did that. This one is Terra Poison, which is obviously great there for, Levitate, and Poison is great. So any psychic moves are pretty much your only thing to be worried about there. So let's have a look at the moves. So we got Ice Beam, which is just a great general coverage move in doubles for, any ground type Pokemon, dragon type Pokemon. A freeze here and there is not too bad. So we got Recover, Tailwind, and Miss Ball. So this is just virtual pure support here, and Tailwind support. So Tailwind is going to be getting the allies speed up. Miss Ball is just there to drop the opponent's special attack stats. So some powerful special attackers, you can use that against them, and then you can recover off and do it again, right? You've also got Ice Beam on there too for coverage, like I mentioned. And any annoying fake out users and stuff, well, they're going to get punished by Rocky Helmet. And they may even, if they have a Focus Sash or something like that, they may even, lose that too. So that's another option that you could do there for doubles. If you want to use Latias in doubles. Probably not the most popular Pokemon, but interesting to look at. Let's have a look at our second set here. Okay, so this set is just full on support as well, like the other one. I probably wouldn't use this as a sweeping Pokemon, honestly, unless you wanted to go more like a gimmicky sweeper, which I'll show you in a sec. But this is, its stats are, very much favor it as a support Pokemon for sure, or a bulky stored power set. You could try this stored. I'm not saying you couldn't try this stored power in doubles. You could, but you're gonna need some support with it and stuff like that. I'll mention some of those Pokemon and allies and stuff in the end of the video. Okay, so our next set here is going to be a tanky set. So we've got max health, 204 in defense, and 28 in special defense. So we're giving this pretty much all-round bulk there. So I've got Covert Cloak as the item, so I'm not going to be affected by any secondary effects because I don't want that to happen when I'm using stuff like Heal Pulse and Recover and stuff like that. They're very important moves to go for, so I don't want to get flinched and anything like that, or paralyzed or whatever, any secondary effects. So Sassy Nature, I just dropped that because I'm using Breaking Swipe. If you don't want to drop your speed and you don't care about Breaking Swipe getting a little bit more damage, you could absolutely just go for another Nature as well there. The reason virtually why I did that is because I want Breaking Swipe to get a little bit more damage, and it is stab too. So it may be against a weaker opponent, it might do more that's super effective. But it is what it is. If you want to drop the attack stat, you can. So Heal Pulse is great there for healing any allies' health by 50%. Miss Ball there, just a general good move on Latios, damage and dropping special attack. Recover, obvious reasons there. Recover yourself off, and Breaking Swipe. So Breaking Swipe is interesting because it can drop the attack of both the opponent's Pokemon by 1. So you've got Breaking Swipe dropping attack and Miss Ball dropping special attack, and you're recovering off and you're also healing your ally. So it works pretty nicely there. So quite a fun and annoying set there for the opponent. Fun for you, but annoying for the opponent. You got Terra-type Poison. I think that's pretty good, or Terra-type Steel. One of those two are going to be pretty useful there, I would say. So anything like that would be good, as long as it's got as little weaknesses as possible, because you don't want it to be weak to anything, or very, very, very little. Probably I reckon Steel would be pretty good. And the reason I say that is because if any rain Pokemon come along, or anything like that, or you've got a rain user on your team, like say Pelipper, then you're gonna have a power down fire move, which is really its only weakness outside of fighting too, if I didn't already mention that. So you've got a couple of things there, but Poison is still probably the best one because it's got the least weaknesses there. So Steel or Poison, either one of them are good. So let's check out some more sets here, and then we'll have a look at some teammates and some counters and such like that. Okay, so this is just a straight sweeping set. I didn't sort of look at this one before because I feel like the bulky stored power set, even these ones here can outclass it, because there's other Pokemon that can do this but better. But I like to look at all sort of aspects. So here we go. So we got a max special attack and max speed. Timid Nature does hit a nice speed stat there, and special attack, it's kind of average when you run Timid. So a good way to boost that outside of Calm Mind is Alluring Voice. So we've got Calm Mind, which is good. A lot of the time the opponent will try and swap in a Dark type, right? So and that's what you want. So you can go Dark type, you might get a swap then, especially for singles, and then you can get Calm Mind up. Then what you can do is go Terra Fairy, and then go Alluring Voice. So Alluring Voice is a sound-based move, so you'll be able to do heavy damage or even faint the Dark-type Pokemon and have Throat Spray activated too. And also any moves like Knockoff, if you were to not go Terra, Knockoff is not going to do its bonus damage on you either, because Knockoff is a very popular move that's used. So I don't mind that sort of synergy there. It works pretty well. And then you got Aura Sphere for any steel types, and you got Miss Ball for general coverage and stab as well. So there you have it. Pretty straightforward sort of Throat Spray set that you could try out, but it is outclassed by a lot of other special attackers can do that, but better, right? But I just thought I'd give an example there for Latias. But pretty much overall with this Pokemon, Poison, Steel, or Fairy are going to be the best, the best terrors on it, really. There's mainly because of its ability levitate too, and because of the obvious dark type move, and fairy being a very good typing as well. So those are going to be your best one to use. Unless you're going to real power, you probably notice I haven't put any dragon type moves on here. It's not all that good really, because dragon doesn't really hit much. Other than another dragon Pokemon, it doesn't hit much, right? It's actually not all that good. It's sort of like, let me put it this way, it's kind of like a normal type move. Normal's is neutral and stuff, but it's not super effective to anything. So outside of another dragon type Pokemon, yeah, it's not all that good. Unless you're trying to rock something like, let's say, example here, let's go Choice Specs. You could try a Choice Specs set with Draco Meteor, so we're really trying to get damage here, which is something you could try. I'm just adjusting the moveset. So this is something you could give a shot to. So just adjusting it. So we got Ice Beam, which is a great coverage move, Draco Meteor, Aura Sphere, and Mist Ball there. So more of a offensive set there, making use of its Dragon Stab. So it's something you could try. Alternatively, you could give it Assault Vest to make it even bulkier. That's an option too. And maybe you could drop Draco Meteor because it's not so great with Assault Vest, and you could give it Dragon Pulse. That way, at least you could have a Dragon type move there. So that could be something as well. Or you could put on Draining Kiss again there. So with Assault Vest for some nice synergy and Fairy, right? So there are a couple of alternate ways you could do this. So it'd be very bulky on the special side there. So that's another way to run Latios. Let's have a look now at a PIMPNITE special, and we'll go over some allies and sort of threats and stuff like that for Latias. All right, here we go. A beautiful PIMPNITE special here. So obviously I like to look at all the competitive aspects of Pokemon, but sometimes pretty much all the time, I like to look at some fun sets as well. So we got a physical one. So interesting enough, these do get Dragon Dance, which is pretty cool. So I made this scummy flinching set. So I've got max attack and max speed, Adamant Nature. So Dragon Dance is going to do the job there at boosting his attack and speed. Now we've got Waterfall that can flinch, and we've got Zen Headbutt for flinching as well, and we've got Recover. Now the reason I put Recover on there is because I've got Terra Electric, right? So I will not be weak to anything at all. No super effective moves will affect me, and that gives you a chance maybe to heal off against a more passive Pokemon and set more Dragon Dances up. Also, just in case the opponent does have Mold Breaker, I've got a ability shield here to stop it from being suppressed, right? So that's going to be useful if you got like a Mold Breaker Pokemon coming in, or someone trying to get around your ability, or changing it or suppressing it and stuff like that. So there you go, a true PIMPNITE special, a physical set there, lots of fun. You could even try a stalling set with Terra Electric. That would be kind of nasty. Like, even how I was talking about this one before, you could even do the weakness policy one. You could even put a ability shield on here as well, even on the competitive set. Now, it might seem a bit funny to get rid of weakness policy, but if someone comes in with Mold Breaker, they're going to get it through that. So ability shield could be a low-key fire item on it. You never know. So just something to think about there. Let's talk about some teammates and some counters here for Latias. Okay, so probably a good Pokemon on... I'd say a good Pokemon on... for a teammate would be Goldengo, of course, which is great on any team, really. Just its typing is very, very good. So any Fairy type moves, it can come in there and threaten, and it also can swap into those Fairy type moves. Steel type, it's weak to ground. However, Latios obviously has Levitate, so that works well in some nice synergy there too, and if, say, someone does try to poison or status Latios, you can always swap in Goldengo with Good as Gold too, so you don't instantly force yourself to have to go for a defensive Terra like Steel or poison or those sort of things. So that can be really, really good. And then you want a physical attacker on your team as well. So I just say Urshifu's quite a good one too. Just Rapid Strike would be great. That's going to be good because it's, it is weak to Psychic too, so Latios kind of like works around that. And also, Urshifu can get rid of any of those Steel type Pokemon too, so that could be, quite good synergy there with those 3 Pokemon, just as a, little suggestion there. Now, speaking of which, counters, King Gambit's a pretty good counter. It won't be affected by Mist Ball. It can it can fire off some really, really powerful Dark type moves as well. So that's a definite good account. Any Dark type Pokemon really do counter Latios very, very well too. And any status moves as well too can counter. So any not so much like the Toxic Spikes and stuff, just like Toxic and stuff like that in general. But a lot of those Pokemon are weak to Psychic too. So being a poison type, so they can be annoying. Stuff like any Stealth Rock users can actually wear down Latios as well. And there are a lot of them. So any Stealth Rock users can definitely do that. Like Glimmora is not too bad. Any Stealth Rock user can, there's like swapping and stuff like that. But like I said before, if you've got a Latios with Terra Steel, you can get around any Toxic, any moves like Toxic and stuff like that too. So that's always a good counter to that too. But it's any Dark type Pokemon are pretty much great counters for this. It's any physical, especially physical users as well. Taking advantage of a defensive stat. And if it is these bulky sets, say if it's this bulky stored power set, Tauntmons can get around that as well. And there's an abundance of those. So any Taunt Pokemon too can get around that. So there's quite a number of them too to get around Latios. I'm just trying to think of some other options here. Well, I mean, probably another great one. We've gone over Dark types, but Chien Pow's another good one that would just destroy Latios with its ability and its Dark type moves as well. So that would be bad. And Single Strike, that would get around it as well. I mean, even normal Urshifu, even the single and rapid would get around there pretty nicely. So there's some options there. Any physical users would be very, very bad for sure. So let's have a look lastly at Latias's moves there. If we've missed anything, if you got any more suggestions, let me know. But I feel like I've covered most of the sets that we use. Any of these status moves like Agility, Calm Mind, things like, it does, that'd be good for stored power. It does get Healing Wish as well, which can be somewhat useful in singles if you had a support step. That could be useful. It does get Screens as well, so you might be able to use it as a light screen, Reflect with Light Clay set. That could be something. It can get Trick as well, so if you have the choice spec set, you might be able to trick an item on, to a stalling Pokemon or something, and that walls you, like maybe like a Blissey or something like that, or a Stealth Rock user. That could be useful. Steel type Pokemon do kind of shut this down too, unless you've got something to get around it. So that could be that's some options there. It does get Wish too. It can be a Wish passer, so that don't sort of look at Recover and then forget about Wish, because it can be good for that. So it can be a good Wish partner. It has Dragon Cheer too, so you might be able to, one of these sort of sets here we're talking about, maybe instead of Breaking Swipe, you could give it Dragon Cheer as well. So that can be useful to pass on a critical hit chance, especially to a Dragon type, because that's a +2, right? So that could be something you could definitely try there. It does get Helping Hand and Heal Pulse. We sort of went over that. Guard Split's kind of interesting. It does get some weather moves too. It also gets Psych Up too. Psych Up could be kind of like interesting if you had the stored power set. Even, this Mirror Her, I'm talking about this stored power set, right? You could always try this in doubles too. I'm not saying it won't work, but a cool item you could give it is Mirror Herb. I feel like that could be quite a clutch item, especially for the stored power set. And just run it like I've run this one here. That could be useful for sure. And you could give it maybe you could give it Recover Still or Agility, or drop one of those and give it Aura Sphere as well, so you can hit Steel and Dark type Pokemon. So that's another idea you could go for there. Any other support Pokemon like a Mungus could be good for that too. Just, you know, Rage Powdering while you set up Calm Mind and such like that. That's also another good one for sure. So quickly look at its special moves, then I'll show you its physical moves. So it actually gets a lot of special moves, which is really cool. Air Slash is interesting. Alluring Voice is what I'd look at that. Aura Sphere is good. Chilling Water might be good on a support set. Draco being a good on those choice spec set. Dragon Pulse probably not so good. Only on maybe, I don't know, like that Assault Vest set. Draining Kiss can be good for Calm Mind for sure. Terra Fairy. Energy Ball was kind of interesting for like, maybe for bulky, really like bulky Pokemon. So like Quagsire or a Swampert, that could be useful for, or Groudon. That could be useful. It does get Future Sight. Gets Grass Knot is interesting. Same sort of reasons for Energy Ball. Ice Beam went over that. Does get Psyshock if you want it to be a mixed special attacker. Also gets Surf, which is interesting too. Might be good for other ground type Pokemon. It doesn't really get any fire type moves for any steel type Pokemon. There is an option of Weather Ball too if you want to use it in the the rain or the sun. You know, maybe Weather Ball in the sun hits fire type Pokemon could be an option there. Charge Beam is another way to boost its special attack. And it's got a whole bunch of other moves there. Icy Wind might be useful for a support set too, like we're talking about here, depending on what your team actually needs. So that's it for the special side. Physical moves are very, very limited on it. As you can see, when I made that physical set, you might be able to do a loaded dice scale shot set, which will do 2 damage. And I just made up a flinching set because I thought that'd be pretty fun. But anyway, that's pretty much it for Latios. Overall, a very good stored power Pokemon. And it can be quite a good support Pokemon in doubles too. That's about it. It's a pretty closed book. Next up, we'll do Latios, which is similar, but excels in different areas. Peace out.